Hi, hello. Welcome back to Even More News, Monday edition.
No, you welcome back.
No,
welcome
you.
back to you. Hi to you and welcome back.
Hi, I'm Katy.
I'm not. I'm Cody. Hi.
Johnston. Yep.
Yeah.
That's your full name, I
That's
think.
what they say.
And of course, Jonathan is also here.
Hi.
Woo. Ow!
I think will actually be the first Tuesday release in Even More News history.
Oh, gasping.
Okay, let's go through some of this stuff this morning today. Markets volatile on news of the continuing tariffs. There was a brief, 10 to 20 minutes this morning where it looked like maybe not, and it happened in the stupidest way possible. The director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, was on Fox and Friends, and he's asked by Brian Kilmeade if the administration would consider a 90-day tariff pause.
Will you do a 90-day pause? Would you consider that?
Or Bill, yeah, I think that the president is going to decide what the president's going to decide.
That clip was posted online and no one really thought much about it because the guy didn't say anything. But then some Twitter guy who goes by Walter Bloomberg, not affiliated with any actual Bloomberg entity, just some Twitter guy.
Do you think he changed his name to Bloomberg?
I mean, he wants people to pay attention to him.
Yeah.
So I will be Jonathan Reuters from now on to get
That's
people to
actually
care.
got a nice little ring to it.
Yeah, no, it sounds nice,
Cody,
right?
Associated Press.
So this Walter Bloomberg fellow tweets, Trump is considering a 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries except China. And then the market jumped more than 7% on news of that tweet. And then nobody could find what that guy was talking about. And then the White House said, that's fake news. And we realized it's just because of that one appearance on Fox and Friends. And then the market went back down and everyone jumped off the proverbial ledge again.
Well, and then Trump announces potential 104% tariff on China.
Well, it's like he
So-
said Trump's going to do what he's going to do. So he was right, actually.
Yeah.
No one knows what Trump's going to do ever at any point.
So he said because of the Chinese retaliatory tariffs that he was going to put an additional 50% tariff on China. And then people were like, oh, 50% of what it is already, 54%. And then they said, no, 50% added to the 54%. So now it's 104%. So now anything from China just costs more than twice as much.
That's fun. That's fun for everybody.
It's funny in a
Is it
way.
even
if
that?
you kind of step back and think about it's a little funny. It's a little funny.
It's a little funny in the way that tragedy equals comedy.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the formula.
in the way, yeah, tragedy equals comedy. In the sense that didn't do reciprocal tariffs and they tried to calculate it in a way that was wrong to begin with, but then they did their wrong equation poorly, so they messed it up even worse. And then, as Jonathan laid out, you hear 50% more. You're like, oh, to the thing? No. The total number 50 is added to 50.
I'm not good at
it's a little
numbers or
funny.
math.
This is so absurd.
But it seems nonsensical to somebody that's very bad at this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really stupid. But also like a terrible disaster, to be clear. I don't want to be like, oh, what a funny time for everybody, but like it's a farce. Farces can still be bad, right? Like it shouldn't be this stupid, I think is my point. It's so stupid and there's no intention and so many, even every day there's like 5 people and they're all surrounding Trump and they all say different things and all different reasons for why the tariffs even exist. And at some point they're going to like get rid of them. And then once again, we're going to be like, but I thought they were necessary to like abolish taxes or whatever.
Nobody knows.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It's very silly.
Before we started, there's so much to be said. Before we started recording, I was telling the gentleman here that I was listening to the All In podcast yesterday to try to make sense of this, and I couldn't. And it was just all the heavy hitters. We've got Calcanis. We've got
Our crypto
Chamath.
czar was our crypto czar on there.
Was Sachs there?
Yeah. Oh no, our crypto man was not there. But Ben Shapiro was there, and
He's on the
my
All
blood
In
pressure
podcast.
spiked a lot. But the truth is that none of these fools have any idea what's happening either, and the amount of like trying to justify, trying to make sense of. And it's I learned nothing is basically my point.
Yeah.
Except for Ben Shapiro saying, well, he said this. If anybody didn't take him seriously, well, that's your fault, basically. You know, I sold my stocks and I bought bonds
Yeah.
before all this started. And then another point, he also says, he's a realist, so if he sees what's happening in the market, he can change course, and he will change course.
He's taking control of the market. He's gonna like have all the companies give him a call, and like he's just gonna be on the phone all day, just negotiating with all these different sectors and companies. But I mean, good for Ben for being technically correct in an infuriating way, which is like, yeah, you should have taken him seriously.
I haven't watched the whole thing. I've seen a few clips of Ben Shapiro on that podcast, and I think his rant about tariffs on that podcast is very similar to my rant about tariffs from a few days ago. It may be the closest match to anything that we've ever said before.
Yesterday, President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day. His giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally. Trump's reciprocal tariffs impose hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans, be the largest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. And it's going to cost American consumers. It will cost American producers who use inputs from other countries. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted immediately more than 1,000 points. The S&P 500 plummeted more than 3%. The NASDAQ plummeted almost 4.5%. There are real world implications for this sort of stuff. Trade wars are in fact not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan. It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works. A fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits they're an accounting procedure. Trade deficits have pretty much nothing to do with the health of an economy. I can name you a period in American history where there was a fairly large surplus in America's balance of trade. The entire Great Depression.
Some Trump-ish folk have started to, they still agree with all his policies. They still think he's got a plan.
He's a brilliant king, man.
The Bill Ackmans of the world, some hedge
having
fund
a rough time.
managers, I would say Jamie Dimon, who told everyone to get over it about tariffs, 6 weeks ago, is now saying, well, we're going to have a recession, folks. A lot of people are going to be in a real bad way. It seems like we were right again.
I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, don't you hate it? And
I do.
There does appear to be a rift in segments of the right about whether he must be stopped, or we were stuck in this, we got to grin and bear it, or like Benny Johnson says, money is meaningless, you don't need it.
Who cares, man?
Yeah, some of these justifications are so fucking wild. Chamath's tweet you've got here in our doc. The stock market has simply wrung out Biden's last gasp of free money before he lost the election. We are back to where we were a year ago. The Benny Johnson, I'm going to read it. Losing money means nothing. Digital ones and zeros. In the end, you won't miss any of it. Citation needed. Losing our country costs you everything. You will never get that back. Your kids will be slaves to foreign powers who hate us. Without America First policies, we become slaves. Fight. Just a few short months ago, just the complete opposite messaging.
If money's so unimportant to Benny, why did he take it from the Russian? Are we allowed to say that? That he took a bunch
he
of...
took hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Kremlin.
I think it's so fair. Also, in the end, you won't miss any of it. What are you talking about?
It's so funny to be like, money's fake, and you shouldn't have any of it.
Yeah, just me.
The complete opposite of what you should be taking from money's actually kind of fake.
Also, this idea that if you have a trade deficit with another country, or if there's debt, right? The United States has debt, that means you'll be slaves to a foreign power. Like there is no scenario where the trade deficit requires that Vietnam invade the United States and kidnap a bunch of Americans and make them work for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always presented as like, this is just a burden on your children and grandchildren. They're going to be working for China. How exactly?
Oh, it's all very silly. Again, like, I mean, I feel like every week there's a new like excuse or reasoning that we have to sort of whittle down to like, but like, here's what tariffs do. And like, here's what a trade deficit means. It doesn't mean we're at war. It's like, I know you, like, I think last week you were like, it's like if I'm at a restaurant and the waiter's like making me also like serve him food or whatever because of this weird relationship that like they're forcing on. It's like, that's just not, it doesn't make sense. And I have to point out, this is Benny Johnson's pinned tweet. He's really proud of this one.
I also want to highlight Milo's because I think it kind of goes with it. Men are depressed and addicted and broken because they have nothing to do. They get no stimulation or satisfaction from BS email jobs. I'm telling you, white Americans will love working in factories again, making things in the image and likeness of God, the maker. When we're talking about all of this, just ways of carrying water, like actually it's going to be really good for Americans to be working low-paying jobs in our factories. You're going to love it. Not that people should be working in sweatshops anywhere. I'm not saying that, but there are a lot of gymnastics.
We yearn for the mines. They've just
But do they?
No, they don't. Well, no, that's the thing. Like, Benny Johnson can be like, actually, it's good, and like, you should like get your hands dirty and lose all your money. But Benny, you're not going to do that. You don't want to do that. It's like, who are you talking to? It's that like, it's such a. Obviously, there's so many contradictions all the time, but like, don't they hate elitists telling like the working people what to do and like telling them like, well, you're going to suffer and you're going to like it and you're going to do these jobs. Not me. I'm going to keep my email job that also like none of us respect. Like, it's just, it's from all sides. They're just like,
it's scrambling for anything. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was on TV either yesterday or this morning talking about how, well, we just fired a bunch of federal employees. There's your workforce for the factories that I assume have been built and have things to build and screw in. And then Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, was on TV yesterday saying, these are the jobs, screwing little screws into iPhones that are going to come to America. And then the quote, what he actually said was worse than the tweet, because the quote said, these are going to be automated jobs. All the factories, all that stuff, it's going to be automated here in America. Okay, so that's cheap goods, but everyone's unemployed and no one has the money to get it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, just gibberish. It's just going to be scrambling. It's the whole hyper normalization thing. Everyone knows this can't continue forever, and we'll just keep saying that forever.
Yeah, spouting as much as they can. It'll stick. Some things will stick with some people, and they'll just keep scrambling and doing this. It's so and you're just watching. You're like, well, they're
Should we talk about Donald Trump,
the president,
golfing and his message of encouragement?
He's there's the one where he talks about how only weak and stupid people don't like what's going on. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panikin. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. So yeah, they got nothing.
Yeah, I want to actually move on to something that is it's terrible for so many reasons, but one is the whole tariff thing kind of bummed me out a little bit for all the reasons we've talked about, and it's all the reasons, but this is the one thing that seems to fire people up a lot. This is the thing that's making people sort of break from Trump. for a lot of reasons, and that's good. We want him to, I guess, to do stupid
But you
bad
feel
things.
disappointed too?
Well, I feel like there are other things. I wish people were more upset about like this rounding up of people who aren't criminals and deporting them and sending them to prisons in other countries and all this sort of stuff. Doesn't seem to be breaking through as much and doesn't seem to bother people as much.
Well, I think it genuinely isn't breaking through as much because in conversations or people being detained over social media posts, the disappearing of people, all of this, and it is truly not breaking through to some.
Yeah, there's this 60 Minutes looked into this because we keep seeing like, oh, this person actually wasn't undocumented. Oh, this person actually wasn't in a gang. Oh, this person, despite JD's lie, wasn't convicted of being in a gang. All these little stories. 60 Minutes looked into this, and they could not find criminal records for 75% of the 238 men that Trump so far has sent to El Salvador. Of the 22% that do have records, the vast majority are nonviolent offenders. So aside from people slipping through the cracks who shouldn't have even been like considered for deportation, they're not deporting criminals, convicted criminals, violent criminals, by and large, and they're seemingly fine with it. And when they do make a mistake, they say they can't do anything about it. And when a judge is like, you should bring that person back, they're like, well, this is an activist judge and you're undermining the presidency and all this stuff. It's like, no, actually, the president's job is to execute on the law. And so if the law is being interpreted by a judge as this, then your job is actually to call them. Was it either JD Vance or some goon said, well, I think it was Bondi probably. One of these freaks was like, well, if the judge wants the person to come back, maybe they should call the president of El Salvador. That's not their job.
That was the
their
press secretary.
Was the press secretary. One of
Carolyn
the idiots,
Levitt.
the press secretary. The judge's job is to interpret the law and tell you that this is what needs to happen. If you're telling the judge to call the president of El Salvador, no. Trump loves being on the phone. It's his job to do that.
Can you imagine the president of El Salvador just taking some random American judge's phone call? What?
It's absurd on its face, but also it's like, that's infuriating. That's you're lying. You're doing the lie thing again. You're just doing more lies about how like, well, this isn't how it works. No, it is how it works. Stop lying so much. It's so infuriating.
I think it doesn't break through as well because there's still this like initial reaction of like, well, he's deporting criminals. You don't want to deport criminals? Like, it hasn't broken through yet that these people are not criminals. And even though they're immigrants, like he just said on the plane, the idea of deporting U.S. citizens to this El Salvador prison.
We could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars.
And then he's like, I don't know what the law says on that. I'm all for it.
Look it up, man.
The stock market is such a big deal, and we see that it's going to raise prices and cost people jobs. That breaks through very quickly. It's so immediate. It's all over the media.
Material.
But once, and I'm sorry that Ramesa Ozturk and Mahmoud Khalil and Kilmar Abrego Garcia are not enough to break through to people. But once it's U.S. citizens being shipped there, it's going to get very real to people, and hopefully it's not too late.
I do think so.
Yeah.
I do think so. I mean, my God, it's just so terrifying. I've got friends that have been here legally for a long time and, terrified to go see their parents, legally here. Citizen, they're like, there's no guarantee if I leave this country, I'm going to be back in. What kind of a country is that? How is that American? And I do believe that if more people understood that it would start to chip away. And I think you're right, Jonathan, it might actually take U.S. citizens being.
It probably will. It's just even stuff like this, because this isn't the first time he's alluded to this. Like, oh, yeah, we should send American citizens to these foreign prisons, too. And like even that should be a chilling thing to hear. And him say, yeah, I love that. I don't know the law, but like that'd be great, because he's saying like, yeah, these like people, like he's just saying like random people who do crimes that he deems to be like in the category of deportable,
like paid protester, perhaps. What are some others potential crimes that he might think deserve?
Keying a car.
Yeah, keying a specific kind of car.
A specific kind of car would be ideal. Yeah, if it was
Being
a specific
just
kind of
generally
car.
un-American by criticizing his administration.
Yeah, being an activist judge. There are all kinds of labels that can be applied to anybody. And that is sort of the thing that I hope breaks through to more people, which is this idea that like there's no satiating fascism. As it grows and takes hold, they're not going to be done with people. They're not going to run out of categories of people. Ultimately, they can decide who's a criminal and who's not. They're the arbiters of the law and the truth now. And they've made it clear they don't really care for either of them. So it's up to them, and they can call you a criminal. And if you're an American, being un-American can be a criminal in their eyes. They can label you however. Nobody is like safe from these mechanisms that are being developed and encouraged and utilized right now.
And to be clear, if it's this market stuff, if it's the tariff stuff that like gets people so freaked out, my retirement fund and everything, that
I'll take it.
Has a groundswell of resistance, I will take it. Right. I won't. I don't want to scold people being like, oh, well, you didn't like Ben Shapiro.
I'm mad for the right reasons. Yeah.
Pundits, I will scold for that. But like individuals who are like, I didn't know that it would be doing this to my money. Like, cool. Welcome to the resistance. All that stuff. We're on board.
The anti-tariff resistance. Like, whatever.
I don't understand it because this isn't how I operate through the world, move through the world in my life. But I do understand in theory, there's a lot of information. There's a lot to the average person that's just trying to get by and do their best. They might not know, and they might not know who to believe. I don't know. You're telling me that this is a bad idea. This person's telling me that it is a good idea. I don't know. And so they make their choice. There are people that live in that camp, and this is breaking through to them, and they don't trust the media and all of this shit, but it's going to be harder and harder and harder to ignore.
I would say trust us, the people who've been right about everything, but I know I'm biased by saying we're the ones who've been right about everything.
Speaking of paid protesters, I think it's important we talk about how many people got that paycheck this week, baby.
So the economy is booming, folks.
Thank you, Georgie.
And to sort of bridge this gap, here's an example of a tweet I'd like to say. It's from Scott Jennings, a dope of a liar on CNN. Breaking: thousands of terror supporters have taken over Washington, D.C., calling for a, quote, global intifada. These people have no business being in America. That's the original tweet. Scott Jennings, a dope on CNN, quote tweeted that and said, the enemies of Western civilization today in our nation's capital. They can call you whatever they want. They will call you enemies of the state who are calling for a global intifada and have no business being in America. And some dope pundit on CNN who keeps getting paid is going to be like, yes, accurate, and they're destroying Western civilization.
It's wild.
That's what that's what they're allowed to do, and it's so
in reality, these protests really quite amazing, and at least the one I was at, quite peaceful and joyous, all things considered, and not what they just described. I didn't see a single sign calling for a global intifada.
Well, that's what the tweet said. So
a global frittata.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Though.
Well, that'll bring everybody together.
A global frittata
Sunday
with a bunch of
brunch.
different.
Yeah, I attended one here, even in the mountains.
Oh.
In Sonora, California. I don't live in Sonora. Don't come looking for me there. But I did attend the one in Sonora, California. And Sonora maybe has 4,000 people. And I don't know. Someone said there was 1,000 people there. I don't think so, but a significant amount of people. And it felt really beautiful to me. The amount of support, the amount of people driving by, big rig trucks were driving by laying on their horns. And it felt very galvanizing. Very weird, though, to leave that environment. There's the Facebook groups around here, a big source of information. So I use it again just for that. And it was really inspiring at first and then demoralizing to read the comments about it. What are they protesting?
Yeah, they're terrorists.
I don't understand. Well, no, just genuine confusion.
Oh.
And then some conversations with people that I was at the protest. And they're like, what were you protesting?
But why?
And I went, oh, pick your thing. I think that is an interesting part of this protest. Super, super thrilled to see how many people showed up. But also there wasn't one thing. It's like there's a laundry list. It became a catch-all protest for all sorts of issues. So that was an interesting element of it. It was hard for me to describe just one thing or another when people ask me that.
Because everyone's so upset, rightfully so. There are many reasons to be upset. It is interesting seeing people sort of try to not hijack the protest, but sort of be like, yes, this upswell of anti-tariff sentiment, this anti-tariff resistance. And it's like, yeah, people are mad at the tariffs, but like, that's not like just sort of like trying to like take their pet issue and turn it like, look, this is the issue we need to like unite around. And it's your mileage may vary on that, I guess.
It felt, and I know there's numbers to back this up that have come out this week, that the poll numbers are beginning to resemble the resistance-y poll numbers of January 2017. But there was a huge, the big hands-off protest was in downtown LA. But I was driving through West LA and I saw a little pocket of one. A lot of very pleasant, happy seniors.
There was a lot of seniors.
A lot of seniors.
Hands off.
Yes, they were feeling, and so I felt heartened that this is not a, and I don't even want to say this because
now we've lost Gen Z.
No. I don't think that's the case, but
they oscillate quite a bit. Actually.
And I also don't want to say like we need the normies to be in on this before there can be a resistance. But it's good to have them around.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And people are honking, and it felt like okay, we're so back in
we're so back, baby,
in resistance land. Like maybe Robert Mueller and the rule of law can be like we can bring all that back.
Finally, Mueller time.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up, but Cody has told us that he has 3 things he wants to rapid fire. We're going to see how rapid fire they rapid fire, though.
There's so many things that happen, and I don't want to do a disservice to these stories. The first transgender woman to get arrested for being in a women's bathroom in Florida happened. So we will be following up on that. Because that's something, again, we've talked about a lot and it seems like it was going to be a problem. And guess what? It happened. And it was a problem. So we'll keep an eye on that and hopefully update. It seems like maybe it's a bad law that will continue to have bad implications and situations. The White House is still doing their little ooh fascism bullshit, posting their little Studio Ghibli things with this quote from J.D. Vance. "We do not ask permission from far-left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants." Well, they weren't illegal immigrants. They didn't do crime. They wasn't a convicted gang member, and they're a judge, so you should listen to them, I guess is my point. Also,
that little video of the deportation.
Nah. Yeah, I know. It's really disgusting.
You guys, we've mentioned it. Don't look at it. It is so fucking gross. In the midst of all of this going on, in the midst of us all knowing that they've been deporting people unlawfully for bullshit reasons and refusing to take them back, you're going to fucking put that shit out?
They're still doing they're doing it more. And it's like every day now.
Gruesome. It's gruesome.
Obviously they want attention, they want engagement, and they know what they're doing, and they're like poking at everybody, but it's still really gross. So fuck them in their faces. And one
number
last
3.
Number three is So over the weekend, Bill Burr was interviewed, and he made some little funny comments, and one of them was about how the Doge guys and Elon Musk can't get laid. And so on the news, on Fox News, the news program, The Five, Jesse Waters took time out of his day to talk about how actually I looked into it, and Elon Musk does have sex with women.
This is
and
not-
the Doge guys they're actually like, they get it.
He said Musk and his Doge boys were nerds who couldn't get girls when they were young. Mm-hmm. Now, I went and did a deep dive on the girls they were getting.
Of course.
Musk's girlfriend in college was very pretty. Very pretty.
Which
and she was thin, and she had a nice face, and she was very pretty. And then he had another girlfriend, and they ended up getting married together and having like 4 children. So he had never had a problem with getting girls.
What a good use of time. And thank God they have such a good sense of humor. Thank God comedy is back, baby, and they understand jokes.
Also, I thought men needed to work with their hands, and men have become addicted to stuff. I thought the whole problem that they were lashing out about is because they aren't getting laid and no one will talk to them. Isn't that the whole thing?
What
but
is
now,
it?
Now they're like, no, that's actually not happening at all. We have sex.
We have sex.
So that was two baddies and a funny, is I guess what those 3
Another good
little
title
news
for a
stories
potential
were.
show. Thank you guys. Hang in there till we are back again in a few days with even more news. Some more news and then some even more news. Also, we fucking love you so very much.
I'm not saying that on this episode or this version of the podcast. Much.